Hello everyone, and welcome back to Let's Play the Journeyman Project 2, Buried in Time. We've returned to the Farnstein Lab for our second run-through.
Man, the station looks like hell. Most of the habitat modules have been sheared off. The lab there also, down below. I'm just hanging by a thread. Amazing that I survived that hit. I guess I'm just thick-skulled. It's funny. I used to feel that station like a body. From inside, you don't get a picture of the damage. You just feel like limbs have been cut off. You try to twitch a finger and you get no response. It's kind of strange to see it like this.
And we have Arthur with us. If you remember from last video, we got him. And he makes everything a wonderfully dark atmosphere. Now, for some reason, you get a help message for the puzzle you're supposed to do here.
Don't look at me. How'd you get there the first time?
Exactly.
Look, if you run out of cheese grill, just go back and buy some more. It's a tasty, fun treat for the whole family.
But this is kind of why I'm showing off the help messages and everything, is because it's kind of flavorful. But yeah, you do have to get another cheese girl in order to get back to the station. Duh.
Well, somewhere under all that ceiling foam is the door to, well, what used to be the hydroponics module. Nothing special, just your garden variety greenhouse. Garden variety... sorry. The doc used to spend a lot of time in here, gardening. It's all automated, of course, so I'm not sure why he bothered, especially the way he set up all kinds of lockout routines to keep me out. I got on his nerves, he said. I have no idea what he meant, but I got the picture anyway that he wanted to be alone. Come on, let's move on.
Arthur's comments definitely do paint a picture of what it actually was on this station with just him and Kenneth Farnstein.
Alright. The passageway has been destroyed, so the only way we're going to get to the biomass processing room is through the Icesteroid. We're going to have to hurry, though, because it's all in vacuum and your oxygen reserve isn't going to get you very far. We'll have to take the atmosphere mining lift.
He says as my reserves go down. It's great.
Okay, the passageway is destroyed, so the only way to get to the sculptures is going to be to go through the Icesteroid. The airlock lift through this door will take us there.
Now, people say that you really don't have time to talk to Arthur that much because your reserves are going down. I don't find that, actually. You do get very close, but it's actually not something I'm worried about.
Pressure variance too great. Door may not be opened until pressure is equalized.
The airlock on the other side must still be pressurized. That's why this door won't open. I can put out an audio override code to bypass the safety interlocks, but the rest will be up to you. Here goes.
Emergency door release initiated. Please stand by.
And your inventory quickly says that you have a new item, the explosive charge. We're not going to get much use out of it for the time being. Honestly, I think this is the worst model in the entire game. It just looks awful. It's a cylinder with squares on it. But that's just nitpicking. So this is mainly the reason why you couldn't go this way and why I didn't show it off last time, is that you pretty much have no way of getting across it without Arthur.
These lifts weren't used too often. The atmosphere mining is all automated, so they're really only for maintenance. Doc used to come up here every once in a while, because it's really quite beautiful inside the Icesteroid, but it's such a pain to suit up, I suppose. Doc wanted to make this place self-sufficient, so he set all this up when he refurbished the station. It's a simple idea, really. You capture a large asteroid composed mainly of water ice, bore through the center, and set up a mining rig on a cable track. The ice is mined away from the inside out and melted at the junctions at either end, then pumped down to the atmosphere plant on the station proper. There, some of it's broken down into oxygen for breathable air and hydrogen for the attitude jets and backup generator. This is mostly why Doc decided to move the station into orbit near Saturn's rings. Here, there is an unlimited supply of Icesteroids, and considering the station's only supporting a crew of one, Doc would only need to replace it once every decade or so.
Did you get all that? Arthur just gives a lot of plentiful information about what Farnstein does around here. I'll get more into detail when we're not on a time crunch.
You're running really low on oxygen. There's a reserve hookup on the mining platform. If you hurry, you can make it there, and that should get you the rest of the way, if there's enough reserve left.
I'm not running out just yet. Okay. Unfortunately, we cannot pressurize the lift. That's not an option. That's why we keep losing.
I know, it looks pretty scary, but don't worry. There's no gravity, remember? So as long as you hold on to something, you won't fall off.
Thanks for the help, Arthur. Alright, so we want to go up. Alrighty then.
Those remotes are what we call nibblers. They crawl along the inside walls, and an arc of heated molecular filament rotates back and forth like an ice cream scoop and carves out the Icesteroid. The ice is shattered by the vibration of the filament, and the small chunks are drawn into the processor by the gravitational pull of the mass driver rings. Those rings create a shallow gravitational field which acts as a mass driver, kind of a gravitational conveyor belt.
All of Arthur's information I find to actually be rather interesting, if not a little dry, but that's probably just because of Arthur's character, because he's been isolated from the rest of civilization. I don't think he has a lot of social skills. Now, what we gotta do here is we got a couple of things around us. But what I actually want to do is go down a little bit more on oxygen reserves. While I'm doing that, I might as well continue on with everything that's going on.
That's just a plug-in controller that we use to test the mining program. It runs a simple mining cycle on one of the remotes.
Sounds so uninterested with this button. Let's run a mining cycle and see what happens. And there goes some ice. Seeing as this is an Icesteroid and everything, not an asteroid. He never called it an asteroid. It's ice. Because we're around Saturn, I suppose. Now, we can go back here, and I'm not sure if it's really able to be read. The first one says run mining cycle, and the other one says run O2 extraction. Oxygen. We need it. And now we're down to 30. But at this point, we're actually able to refill. And before I do that, I want to get down to 20% and show you what goes on when that happens. There we go. It's not 20%, but it is 13%. You get an alert, and then what happens is every single step you take goes down 1% of oxygen. That's pretty much how the whole oxygen reserves work as a whole, but now you get a clear indication of what's going on.
This generates the gravitational field for the mass driver rings. A lot of ice shavings get caught in the inversion coils and melt, so there's a water trap built in. That's the purge valve on the right. There's also an oxygen reserve connection on the left in case a maintenance job takes too long or something.
I'm not trying to be suspenseful by talking to Arthur.
Okay, here's the reserve oxygen hookup. I suggest you plug in now or take really shallow breaths for the rest of your 3-minute life.
Thank you. Yes, I will, okay. Ta-da! Alright, now we're perfectly okay. Now, also on the other side here is an H2O tank. Just remember this for later. Now, let's see if we can't get to somewhere that's pressurized, huh? What that would pretty much mean is that we have to continue upwards. Through the Icesteroid! So yeah, Farnstein Lab in terms of your oxygen reserves is not cruel. Gives you decently distanced checkpoints for oxygen reserves. Now we get to go through another lift, but in this lift is actually something different.
Well, normally those would be filled with tanks for water, oxygen, or hydrogen from the processor. Looks like there's only one canister left. The rest must have been in hydroponics or in the lab.
All he's saying is there's this one. We better take it. Unfortunately, it's empty. Yeah, that's pretty much what I meant by we're going back. And it's actually best to go back and do it right now. Alright, coming back down here, we can go back to the pump. And what we can do here is just stick our canister on here, and now we have to... now we're able to use the water. Bingo! Alright, so now we have a full water canister. This will come in handy for whenever we actually need it. And don't worry about it actually running out of water, because I don't think it ever does. Alright, let's head back up to the lift and actually get through this. But first, some oxygen. That's a good idea. Maybe you should get some. There we are. Now I'm good. Oh, here's also a comment that I forgot to actually do.
How do you like the feeling of thousands of tons of ice balanced above your head while there's nothing beneath your feet? Getting anxious? Phobias creeping in? High anxiety? No? Oh well.
Okay, now we're out of the Icesteroid and back onto the station. Now we can head into a new wing. Overall, let me just summarize my feelings about the lab here. I didn't like this place when I was a kid. It was too dark, and honestly, growing up a little bit more, this place is actually very well designed in atmosphere. There's definitely a feeling of death and destruction everywhere.
This looks like it's in worse shape than the Habitat wing, but really it's just the corridor that got hit hard. The lab was on the center section, though. It was sheared off completely, and had my studio, and Doc was in the lab when the shower hit. I don't think it got hit directly, though. Just the section of the cord it was attached to collapsed, and it tumbled away.
Arthur doesn't help the situation either, because if you remember from last video, he didn't want to be here. At least not now, but at least we're getting it out of the way. The reason why I'm doing this now, actually, what, like 16 minutes into the video, is because you're able to do it right away. You don't have to backtrack or go into different time zones in order to finish Farnstein's lab. It's almost completely attached from the rest of the game. That sting is actually something I really enjoy in terms of the music here. Like, it's overall atmospheric, and shut up, oxygen reserves, I'm completely fine right now. We can just take a little spacewalk.
So beautiful and tempestuous. I spent a lifetime staring down at that view, pulling back to see the intricate weavings of the storms, focusing in so close I could see the facets of ammonia crystals floating like stars in a sea of helium and hydrogen. It's been the inspiration for a lot of my work. I'm gonna miss it.
Arthur's very artistic and very creative in terms of his words. Well, anyway, we have to remember that we have a task at hand. Getting into the biomass processing unit, which we're actually right near.
Uh-oh, Gage. Sorry. I should have realized. This room is normally kept depressurized. We're gonna run out of oxygen before we get done in here. We're gonna need to repressurize this room.
Yeah, the help pretty much says that you are gonna die in here if you open this door. Let's do it anyway! Huh? Arthur doesn't know what he's talking about. We have 60% left. And welcome to our first death. It took a while to get to here, didn't it? But yeah, this is the death that you get when you run out of oxygen, pretty much. This is why I haven't actually been running out of reserves on purpose. Other than that, the one time. Yeah. Overwhelming drive to succeed was both his gift and fatal flaw. In attempting to restore life support to Kenneth Farnstein's battered space station, he fatally overestimated the amount of oxygen remaining in his suit's emergency air supply. The next of kin have been notified. What next of kin? I have no idea. Yeah. The pictures here are actually very well detailed, I will say. Well, I'll see you back there and we'll actually do this properly. Also, I should mention that when you save and reload in different parts of the Farnstein station, anywhere on the Farnstein station actually, you get your oxygen reserves replenished. So you actually start off with 100% whenever you start. So you actually have no threat of running out, unless you're doing it in one go. But anyway, here's another one of the maps. Screens.
Well, if there's enough of a reserve left, we should be able to pressurize the biomass room from here. Well, you already know what this does.
And I do. Thanks, Arthur. It's a wonderful, helpful comment. Yes, so, remember when I did a stupid thing last time, and also the door seal is obstructed once again? For some reason. I already have the metal bar, and when you actually go back there, you don't find the metal bar anymore. It's kind of weird. But anyway, now we can actually pressurize the biomass processing unit, and not be stupid like last time. This was also pretty much the reason why we weren't able to actually get to the biomass processing the other way, like we did last time. Because, one, we have to go through the scanner room, and two, there's a big huge gap between the habitat wing and the scanner room, or the science wing. So yeah, that's pretty much the problem. That means we can finally go into biomass processing. Background music still gives me the chills, honestly.
The other guy who was in here went around and interacted with all the sculptures like he was looking for the right one. Funny, he really seemed to know what he was doing. The one he eventually settled on is at Programming Station C.
Okay, and we have all the time in the world because, of course, we're in a pressurized environment.
You can call this the maternity ward. This is where I was born. The huge womb in the center is where the neurosynaptic polymer gel that makes up my brain mass is grown. Ringing it are the programming stations. Kinda homey, isn't it?
It's a weird way to put it, but yeah. One big peeve I have with Arthur is that his comments and help messages were definitely not recorded on the same day, because you can definitely tell that the audio is always different or level different all the time. It's inconsistent, which is kind of a bother. So anyway, we can instantly go to Station C, but we might as well take a look around.
These stations are where the neurosynaptic polymer gel is programmed. Sort of where my DNA is coded, I suppose. Each new function is mapped independently into a glob of gel like this by stimulating synaptic pathways with the resonance probes. Each program mass is then introduced to the parent nexus where it's assimilated and becomes part of the wetware. A little like an RNA injection.
Yep, this is pretty much how Arthur came to exist. He was a giant ball of goo, which we can comment about this, but there's actually there's no sculpture here, so...
Dr. Farnstein had set up a studio in the research lab where I could interface with a painting window. It was kind of important to me, things that I couldn't figure out, I just put to canvas. After the accident, I had a lot of things I wanted to work out, and the studio was just gone. I guess one day I sort of hit on the idea of using all of this raw material here. It gave me a lot of flexibility. It's a medium I'm familiar with. My own gray matter. Green matter, I suppose. I guess I like the irony, too. The artist cannibalizing himself for his art.
Yeah, and those artists were kind of creepy. There's one artist I remember who painted a picture using limbs he got from the morgue as inspiration. It's not a fun it wasn't fun. But anyway, let's continue on to the other stations. Let's see what we get here. Station F and Station E. This is pretty much what it looks like. Here's one of the sculptures, anyways, for the Self-Life Here series, I guess. But yes, Arthur is the one who created it because he's pretty much messing with himself. They do weird and funky things. Unfortunately, the only one we can actually do anything truly with is on Station C, so we're pretty much just looking at extra goodies. It spewed all its exploding goo at me, and apparently it didn't suck it up either, so it's just infinite now. Infinite goo. Nickelodeon should come to here. Now, the one main problem I have with this room is it's hard to get your bearings. There we go, Station A and B. Unfortunately, this one we actually can't do anything with, and we can actually see more things. We're in a globe, if that's hard to actually notice. But yeah, this is... From Arthur's descriptions, this is a place that Arthur came to, and Farnstein didn't, because, well, this place is normally not pressurized. Anyway, let's get down to business.
Well, this is the one. If you touch it, you can see what it's supposed to do. Whatever he did to it only shows up in reaction to a specific harmonic resonance. But why go to all this trouble? I think somehow we're going to need to duplicate whatever resonance frequency was used to make the biomass react. That's the only way we'll be able to record how the sculpture was changed. Why don't we try using the harmonic resonance generator? We could just run through the frequencies until we find one that stimulates the sculpture.
Arthur did mention last video that the person who was here before tampering with all of these, or at least this one, set up a harmonic response for this. So let's see what it does. It honestly is a really cool effect. although it is an effect from the 90s, so it's kind of a little outdated. But yeah, this is the only one where we can actually do anything extra here. Over here is the harmonics resonance frequency generator.
The harmonic resonance control is used to introduce specific three-dimensional resonance waves into the biomass. Where the waves converge, the gel is stimulated into opening new patterns of pathways. Without inserting the probes, I suppose the sculpture would just be flooded by the resonance field. There's a chance that it might trigger an embedded response.
Or whatever Arthur said. Arthur's probably going to contradict me a lot. Now, what we were actually able to do is that the evidence chip kind of popped up. So let's go over there and see if we can actually locate anything. According to our manual location, it actually shows something. However, of course, we can't actually do anything. It's insufficient evidence because it's just a sculpture. We don't know what it's actually evidence for. Let's head back to Arthur and go back down here. This isn't really so much of a puzzle as it is supposed to be just go through each of them and see what gives a positive response. It's also undefined. This dial is actually a really annoying thing to deal with. But you can hear all the wonderful frequencies that are programmed into the game. And there we have a positive response. So we'll go back to that. That's really high frequency. Okay. I don't know how anybody could constitute this as an actual puzzle, because it's just go through each of them. You don't have any sort of risk of shutting this thing off if, like, you only had 3 chances. It could have easily become a very weak puzzle, but a puzzle nonetheless. Anyway, let's see what actually is going on with this thing.
Okay, well, I guess that does it. You know, for so long I dreamed of getting out of here. But now that I've gotten my wish, it's kind of strange to think that I'll never be able to come back. I'm gonna miss this place. Hold me, Gage.
Well, yeah, that's it. Mission complete. Once you have that message, there's actually nothing left for you to pick up evidence, or you've picked up the main evidence anyways, and you can continue forward. Let's see what we actually picked up, though. Let's review the evidence, and we can see here that we have... I think that's supposed to be electronic schematics. So there's a typo. But it's inconsistent with the technology of this time period. So it's a bit different. Seeing this is a little under a century ago. But yeah, there's only one piece of evidence in Farnstein Lab, and we actually have everything we need in order to continue on into the other time zones. Hopefully I'm trying to do as minimal backtracking as I possibly can, so this is why I chose this one first. But with that, we're actually done with the Farnstein Lab. We don't have to come back to this hellhole of death and destruction ever again. Hope you enjoyed walking around in space. Because next time, we're going to be jumping back, and we're going to be hitting up some history. We have 3 historical places to go to. We're going to start with the Mayans. We're going to start with Chichen Itza. We have a small thing to do there that it's best to get it out of the way before going into other places. We actually need to pick up an item here in order to finish off another time zone quickly and sufficiently. There will be a human presence in this area. Yeah, there we go. We'll be sure to meet them. So next time we're going to go see the Mayans. See you next time, everyone.